Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Kevin Zwicker from Fast Count, and that's a little bit better. And this is your AEW Dynamite review for October 7th, 2025. This was the Title Tuesday edition of Dynamite. If you saw on the other channel, NXT was having their showdown with TNA, where we saw the Hardy Boys win the NXT Tag Team Championship. The first wrestlers who are under contract with TNA to win a title that is under the WWE banner. If you guys have been paying attention to that partnership, you have known that it's been pretty one-sided for the most part, benefiting the WWE side, but at least for one night, TNA was able to not look so much as if they are the redheaded stepchild of this partnership between those two companies. But this Dynamite was held in Daly's Place. If you guys are not familiar, this is basically the home base. This is AEW's New York. WWE, as we know, New York was always their home base, and Jacksonville is AEW's home base. And I've always been, very much so one of those people who become a bit nostalgic for Daily Space, especially due to the fact that during the pandemic, which felt as if it immediately happened as soon as AEW kicked off, this was where the majority of their shows have taken place for such a long time. So there's always that bit of a feeling of your heartstrings being tugged on once they take their show at Daly's Place. But this is an eventful show. We are on the way to Wrestle Dream, which will be taking place next weekend. And there was a lot of things that went down. We saw Pac have his first match in AEW in such a long time. Two guys who felt as if they have been integral faces of AEW, but have missed such a significant amount of time, has been Kenny Omega and Pac. Two guys who, if you watch their matches, are one of the guys who are in the top echelon of performers, but it's just that damn injury bug. It always seems to get them, and it's just unfortunate. But Pac looked ginormous today. This guy was very much so looking as if he was the comics accurate version of Wolverine. Very stout, yet very miniature in stature. The guy was like a pit bull. The Hardys are WWE Hall of Famers. That, and they want the Dudleys and Hardys one more time. They will actually be having the Hardys go one-on-one against the Dudleys at Bound for Glory very, very soon for the last time. Pac, singlet Pac, humongous Pac. The dude looked jacked. The main event was really solid as well. The last two matches of the show, Bandito versus Takeshita and Okada in that eliminator match, and OC versus Pac, who've had many matches in the past and always seem to be able to deliver high quality stuff. They did it again. By the way, Pops, you didn't say anything to me about the Yankees coming back. You're very quick to talk, very quick to book their tickets to Cancun. Yet, Mr. Judge, the greatest hitter to ever touch a baseball bat, said not so fast on that vacay, sir. But we open up the show with Hangman Adam Page, our AEW champion. He is heading into the show at Wrestle Dream to go one-on-one with Samoa Joe, a man who has never lost to the Hangman. The way that this match was kicked off, settled and set last week, very simplistic. I know a lot of times, we complain about these matches being set up, saying we want this elaborate build, but didn't happen. We just need sometimes, it's as simple as I don't like you, or you bumped into me wrong, or you did this small gesture that I took in a way to where it offended me, and we get something kicked off. That's exactly what went down. This promo between these two guys, where basically Samoa Joe, articulating the fact that Hangman wouldn't be the champion if it wasn't for the ops, playing a role in it and having his back throughout the whole summer, where we had that, big time moment at All In where Hangman was able to capture the AEW championship. And, he's kind of forgotten who he was and forgotten the goal, and that is to regain the AEW World Championship. And after Wrestle Dream, the title is going to be basically, and I'm kind of paraphrasing this, a more worthy champion. And I'm looking forward to it. They've had multiple matches in the past, and they seem to be able to have good chemistry together. Samoa Joe, one of the all-time greats, especially of the last 20 years. Looking forward to him and Hangman. Hangman has been somebody who has really been the focal point of AEW for the most part, but it kind of feels like, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but it feels as if his title reign has kind of taken a little bit of a back seat, due to the Death Riders and mainly Jon Moxley and Darby Allin having their feud, which I'm sure that at Wrestle Dream it's going to be. It wouldn't surprise me if somebody gets one of their limbs chopped off during that match, because these are two guys who have been known throughout their whole AEW tenure to not be afraid to go to the extreme. And they've had so many different moments in AEW where they had, blood gushing everywhere and all these crazy stunts where Darby Allin's jumped off of this high feet or this, gone through this plate of glass or any of these things. I'm not going to be shocked if we see these guys just absolutely mutilate each other at that show. Darby and John are going to be crazy. Joe and Adam is a good fit, a good pay-per-view main event. I 100% agree. I don't know. I think Darby and Mox might main event the show, because whatever they're going to do, I don't think anybody's going to be able to top it, honestly, from a violent standpoint especially. But who knows? I'm kind of one of those guys who's a traditionalist, where it's, I kind of, unless it's a situation where, like at WrestleMania, where they had Rock versus Hogan, and that did main event, I'm pretty steadfast on the title should always main event. Who knows? It's going to take them an hour to clean the ring. I 100% agree on that. It's going to be a bloodbath. And if you are somebody who is an enjoyer of gore and violence, you are going to be happier than a pig in shit that night, probably. Next, we see a segment where the Young Bucks are knocking on the door of Tony Khan's office. And you keep hearing them pounding on his door, asking for a big money match, If you remember last week, they gambled all their money away at the casino. So the Bucks are not only EVP-less, they are broke, which is the worst combination you can be. So, and later on, we're going to see something that's going to kind of call back to that and put a bow on that. But next, we get into the Hurt Syndicate versus GOA and Ricochet in the street fight. MVP, who pretty much felt responsible for taking the L for his team at the last pay-per-view, really wanted to save face and get to a point to where he proves to be useful for the Hurt Syndicate. You hear all these rumors online that the Hurt Syndicate are looking to get more youthful. Cedric Alexander, his contract also happens to be up this week, I believe, or next week. So there's a possibility that maybe he can get back into the fold. I don't believe that's going to happen, because if you guys aren't so keen on remembering the fact that he is married to Big Swole, who had a public falling out with AEW, and if you guys aren't used to being with a significant other, for the most part, if they have a problem with somebody or a work environment, then you by default have a problem with somebody in that work environment. So pretty sure Cedric's going to stay, but you never know. This match, there was a spot where Ricochet meant to do a table spot where he did this flip and was supposed to go through a table and where the table would collapse. It did not. Anytime we see that where you do a spot where you know that the intention is for the table to break, it kind of comes across as goofy, unfortunate, but it comes with the territory. But Shelton Benjamin was able to pick up the pin once uh, Ricochet, the Bald Wonder, was German suplexed through a table. Good stuff. Hurts Nikki gets their win back. You know that online they had this reputation of being guys who aren't so keen on taking pins, are not too big of fans of losing, but they did this here. Had a good match with Rico and GOA, and they're on their way of rebuilding their momentum and reconfiguring where they fit into the tag team division, which is now looking a bit stronger, especially with the additions of Jurassic Express being back into the fold. Now you got Okada and Takeshita. This tag team division, which was a calling card in the beginning of AEW, seems to be really finding its footing again and feels as if it is becoming reinvigorated once again. We get to the ring. We see Jurassic Express, their first match together in years. They're going up against some local jobbers. They pick up the win pretty quickly. And after they were able to do that, they were celebrating on top of the top rope. And the Young Bucks, they happen to take Jack Perry off of the top rope, which Jack Perry, I know that, we're in this nostalgic moment where he is reunited with Luchasaurus, but he's coming out with pants. They did not bring the loincloth back. He is not Jungle Boy at the moment. He is slowly but surely becoming Jungle Man. And men wear pants, not loincloths, right? So the Bucks, they're attacking Jack Perry. They get back into the ring, and Luchasaurus has both of them by the neck. It looks as if he's going to deliver a double choke slam, but they hit him with a low blow. Then they hit him with a V trigger, and then you see the Bucks, they take up the mic, and they say, Jack, this is what we call in the professional wrestling business a callback, and they hit him in the guts with a microphone. If you guys remember, Jack Perry, he hit Kenny Omega in the guts, who battled diverticularitis, and we get a match challenge for the Jurassic Express to go against the Young Bucks at Wrestle Dream, and we see the Young Bucks deliver a tombstone to Jack Perry. Poor guy. Perry, what's kind of funny about these two teams that are kind of in similar predicaments, right? Jack Perry, after his hiatus that he had, following the incident with CM Punk at the very first All In, the guy kind of had all the momentum in the world. Everybody was, pinpointing their focus on him and seeing what is going to happen next with that moment, because he was just, so entangled in such a moment that had everybody's curiosity piqued. And they slowly but surely were riding the momentum with the Jack Perry heel persona. Then it became kind of obvious that it didn't work. And then it's just like, hey, we don't really know what to do with you anymore, so we're just going to put you back in a tag team and call it a day. Did the same thing with the Acclaimed, right? The Acclaimed, they split them up, and they have Jerry Lynn kind of basically on camera saying that, hey, you guys suck to go separately. So, and we don't really know what to do with you, so we're just going to put you back. Two teams who are in the same predicament. We don't know what to do with you guys individually, so why don't we just put you guys back together and just act as if what we saw previously just never happened. We see Pac outside, surrounded by his other Death Rider goons, and he's talking about the main event match that he's going to have with Orange Cassidy later in the night. And basically he's coming out and says, I'm going to out wrestle you. He's like, I'm going to outclass you, and I'm going to make you suffer. You see Willer Yuta, he goes on, he talks about how, the Death Riders are attempting to trim the fat in AEW and really change the image of the company. Then you see Daniel Garcia, put his 2 cents in, and he talks about, winning and losing isn't always about, getting your shoulders pinned on the mat. Of course, he would say that, a guy who constantly has his shoulders pinned on the mat. He says winning is about a mentality. It's about how you carry yourself. It's about all these different things. And that's basically how that ended. It was like that one season of that one nightly soap opera back in the day. What show was that? What show was that? They just retconned it, right? They said, hey, we don't know what to do. So back together. It's like Men in Black, the neuralizer, where it's just your memory is swiped. Your memory is completely swiped of real glass. Cry Me a River. We're back to being a jungle boy. Funny how professional wrestling works. Sometimes I miss Dancing Danny. He's not happy anymore, right? Death Riders don't dance. They don't make people happy. That's sad. Dancing Danny. I love Dancing Dallas. Oh. I'm pretty sure I was born 10 years after Dallas was done. I know that they revived it and J.R. Ewing died within the first 2 seasons of the revival. Then after he died, it was yeah, let's not do this anymore. Next, we get into Kyle versus Kyle. Kyle Fletcher, Kyle O'Reilly, the TNT Championship. Kyle O'Reilly is a guy who is pretty much feels as if he is the centerpiece of the Don Callis family right now. That's weird. Last week we had the introduction of, Andrade being in the Don Callis family, and this week we don't see Andrade. No Andrade. And it was a big deal that he was brought back in. But no Andrade this week. I don't even think that I saw him with the other Don Callis guys. But he's in there. This is a pretty solid match. Kyle Fletcher, every single week, I think that he shows more and more why he's in the position that he's in and why it's become abundantly clear that he is, the next up when it comes to AEW's homegrown talents. Kyle's good. I think that despite what Stevie Richards says, Kyle Fletcher is elite. Kyle Fletcher is superstar. Kyle Fletcher is going to be the future of AEW probably, for the next 10 years. I don't like that he's being a henchman. I mean, it's just the first week back, right? I mean, we don't know the role that he's going to play. There's rumors and innuendos. I should check my sources. That Santos Escobar, his contract is up. His contract expired at midnight. And word is that he is All Elite bound, which I think that's the right move to go for him and AEW, especially due to their relationship with CMLL. I think it's a perfect landing spot, reuniting him with Andrade, having him wrestle Bandito, Hechincero, other guys, just even non-luchador wrestlers. I think that there's been a couple of different feuds, especially with a guy like Sammy Guevara. I think they could do some interesting stuff with Sammy going up against these other luchadors. Play the angle that he's a non-Spanish speaker going up against them who are truly representations of Mexico. I think somewhat of an angle like that I think could be interesting. Who knows? But Kyle Fletcher, he picked up the big-time W. After this match, he was draped with Lance Archer, who accompanied him to the ring. He basically said, sick him to Lance Archer. Lance Archer went into the ring, was about to give Kyle O'Reilly a case of the beats. But we saw the other members of the conglomerate come, make the save. We saw other members of the Don Callis family come and make the save. We brawled out. We see Mark Briscoe come out, make the save. Him and Kyle Fletcher come face to face. Kyle Fletcher was later interviewed by Renee Paquette in the back, asked why he backed down to Kyle Fletcher. Why did he back down to Mark Briscoe? And Kyle Fletcher says, Mark tried to take advantage of me after having such a hard-felt match. He's like, I've beaten Mark Briscoe twice. Renee reminds Kyle Fletcher that Mark Briscoe has actually beat him twice as well. And then it's official. We're going to see Mark Briscoe versus Kyle Fletcher at Wrestle Dream for the TNT Championship. Next, we'll get into the CEO, the GOAT, Mercedes Moné. Last week, we saw that she said that she's going to have an open challenge for somebody who is a Florida native. This is her first time wrestling in Daly's place, and she gets the challenge opened by none other than Lacey Lane, the former Kaden Carter in NXT. Solid. This was her Dynamite debut. I like with the women what they're doing right now. It kind of feels as if they're kind of throwing stuff up against the wall and seeing what sticks. I think Kaden Carter is not Kaden Carter. Why am I calling her by her Fed name? I think Lacey Lane is a good addition to the women's roster in Ring of Honor. I think that this is a dream match that she has stated that she's wanted to have with the CEO Mercedes Moné, and who wouldn't dream about wrestling the GOAT? Mercedes obviously picked up the W, but Lacey looked as if she belonged. She looked as if she can hang. I think that it's interesting the direction that they're going to go with Mercedes next, because there's no clear direction right now. And I think what they really are trying to go for is having her just pull the Jazz Chisholm, yawn while at work, and have her beat Jade Cargill's record as the longest reigning TBS champion. Next, we get into the eliminator match between Takeshita and Okada versus Brodito. Takeshita and Okada, they are in the predicament where they're the tried and true wrestling trope of, can these two guys coexist? These are two guys who are vying for basically being the top dog in the Don Callis family. Takeshita the alpha, Okada the rainmaker. Okada, who is arguably the best big match wrestler of all time. Takeshita, somebody who just has star power written all over him. Sheeta is on her way back. Yeah, she just re-signed with AEW multi-year contract. But we've done Sheeta versus Mercedes before. So it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if there's any fresh faces available at this moment to where we get a fresh matchup. This is where you kind of have to rely on storytelling in that way. And throughout this whole match, Bandito was nursing a shoulder injury. He multiple times there was different spots where he tried to pull off a big move. He wasn't able to because his shoulder gave out. And he was about to hit a 21 plex on Takeshita, but the shoulder gave out. He wasn't able to do it. And throughout this whole match, you saw Okada and Takeshita trying to one-up each other. Takeshita was the one doing the majority of the work. You saw multiple spots where he was in there working with extended periods of time with Brody King and Bandito. At the end of the match, Takeshita was hot tagged by Okada at the end. Okada hit a Rainmaker on Bandito. They picked up the W, and at Wrestle Dream, we were going to see Brodito versus Takeshita and Okada for the AEW Tag Team titles. Now, Okada versus Takeshita, it's when, not if. And what I'm so interested about this story, too, is, and we're seeing something similar going on in WWE with Io and Asuka, is you have two people who, oh my God, who English, it's pretty clear that it's not their first language, right? But the true brilliance of the storytelling is where you see the story and you can follow along with the story, and you're able to use facial expressions and body movement more so to tell the story than actual words. And I think that that's a potential that we could see go down between these two guys. I think that it's already laid out. The story is simple. 2, it's I'm the top guy in the Don Callis family. You think you're the top guy in the Don Callis family. Let's go out there and decide. That match is good. Hopefully the boys can get their belts. I think Takeshita and Okada are going to end up getting the title. I think that's the direction they're going to go. Maybe wrong, but oh God, it's just I haven't been able to sleep at all this whole week. I got a lot going on. Business is booming, guys. If you don't know, I do have, besides content, I do have a editing service company that I have that produces content, pretty much specializes in shorts, TikToks, things like that. And the clientele list is building up very, very, very quickly. I announced it yesterday. Pops, you weren't there, so you didn't hear it. But I now, as of Monday, I edit for Knicks Fan TV, which is the biggest Knicks YouTube channel on YouTube. So a lot on my plate. Not saying this to brag because that's not the intention, but I currently edit for the biggest WNBA channel, the biggest New York Jets channel, and the biggest New York Knicks channel. So I'm saying that basically to say is I got a lot of freaking shit on my plate. So I don't sleep that much these days. But we're going into the main event. Orange Cassidy, Pac. Pac comes out and looks ginormous. Orange Cassidy, as we all know, not the most intimidating guy, but what Orange Cassidy was able to do throughout this match, and he remember the little people. I'm still one of the little people. You know what I'm saying? Shit, I'm still one of the little people. Just a little person who happens to be over here. Not got my hands in a lot of different things these days, man. It's gonna be a lot. What's so daunting about the Knicks one too, and I'm getting off subject, is the fact that it's not like the NFL or football, where it's like you're gonna have 17 of these bad boys, and you're gonna have different talk throughout the week. But with the NBA, it is 82 games, so I know for at least a fact that I'm gonna be cutting 82 shorts. And the Knicks are winning the finals. So I'm gonna win. So I'm gonna sit there and cut that whole, that whole journey of us winning that championship. So it's gonna be a long year from a couple of weeks to when this season starts off to June when we're hoisting up that Larry O'Brien trophy. But Pac looked like $1 million, man. And the thing about what Pac was able to do throughout this match is. And what's so interesting is the fact that he's kind of so compact. The guy still is able to move fast. A lot of times, we have these guys who are jacked to the gills, and they move very slowly and methodically. Pac was able to go like that, and throughout this whole match, Orange Cassidy was giving it all. Was throwing the whole kitchen sink at Pac. Orange punch after orange punch, but Pac was able to, just eat those things, and he, was working Orange Cassidy for the most part. It looked like everything was bleak at one point when they were brawling into the fans, and Orange Cassidy got a tombstone from Pac into the crowd, and Pac encourages the referee to start counting, do the count out, and then we see a hand slowly move. And we see Pac get his legs chained up to one of the barricades about where the stands are at. And Pac is unable to move. Pac is eventually able to break free of it. And he's able to break into the ring before the 10 count happens. But Orange Cassidy is able to roll him up. 1, 2, 3. OC picks up the big time win in the main event of Dynamite. But Darby Allin, not done. he calls out Pac and basically, encourages to come after him. It is revealed that Darby Allin has a stun gun. He threatens all the other members of the Death Riders with the stun gun. He goes out in the parking lot. The Death Riders eventually follow him. They see him in his hand. He has a Molotov cocktail that he's about to throw. And then security, like an actual security, would do their job. Just tackle the shit out of Darby. They're on top of him because Darby Allin was basically about to blow up the building. And which I'm pretty sure that is like a crime. Only in professional wrestling can you get away with, Grand Theft Auto or attempted murder or all these different things, and you still keep your job, and you're at your job the following week. But this is a solid way to end the show. Get you more excited for their match at Wrestle Dream, which I'm sure is going to be one of those matches that people are going to be talking about for a while. The security guy was at the game. Yeah. He just tackled him, man. It was insane. Darby Allin, one of the menaces in AEW. But guys, it is getting late. I am tired. I have been editing all freaking day. All freaking night. It's gonna be a crazy weekend too, because Crown Jewel, with it being in Australia, is starting at 8 o'clock in the morning on East Coast time, which hooray for me. I get to wipe the boogers out of my eyes and then immediately get cut into watching Jey Uso wrestle. What did I do to get so lucky to deserve this? And then on Sunday, the Jets play in London, which I am mostly ready to see them get their asses handed to them in another country. And early in the morning, have to edit that bad boy as well. So, busy weekend at the Zwicker household. But guys, we will do, I'm not sure if it's going to be an immediate post show after Crown Jewel, but you're either going to get an immediate post show or you're going to get some standalone videos. Either way, you're going to be covered all weekend for that. But guys, please remember to hit that like button and subscribe. I am Kevin Zwicker. I'm out.